What's going on, guys? It is a Thursday evening here. It is 9:30. Welcome to News 6 Weather Live. I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegges. We're coming at you live on News 6 Plus and on the News 6 YouTube channel tonight. Please comment where you're tuning in from this evening if you have any questions, whether it's related to the topics that I'm about to show you that we're going to break down tonight or not. We'd love to hear about them, and I will do my best to get to them before the end of the show. So welcome, everybody. And again, thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your Thursday evening to hang out with us and nerd out about the weather. So a lot going on tonight, as you may imagine. Even when it's quiet, there is always a lot going on with the weather, just because there's so many interesting things to talk about on why something may be quiet or why it might be active. In this case, we do have a little bit of stuff coming. Hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. Pattern change coming to Florida for the weekend is actually already underway. And if you're along the Atlantic coastline right now, you know what I'm talking about. We have some late night thunderstorms or late night downpours. We talked about this to the early shows tonight. If you were watching News 6 from 4 to 6:30, that we are talking about the rain chances increasing along the coast and then really pushing everything inland because of a tropical wave. So I'm going to show you where that tropical wave is at, and then we'll get into what that means for your weekend. Then we're going to check in with, on the tropical side of things, NOAA released their update to their preseason forecast that came out in late May. They do this every single August on the first week here, so we're going to break down their numbers. It was a subtle change, nothing crazy, but I'll show you the latest changes. And then we're going to obviously look at the tropics themselves. There's a battle brewing right now in the Atlantic as to if we're going to get a flurry of storms to end August or not. And we're going to talk about that battle coming up in about 10 minutes. At the end of the show, of course, it's time for you to sound off. So please keep those comments coming, and I will do my best to get to them. All right. So here's the deal. We have this weak tropical wave that's hanging out over just off the east coast of Florida now. It's putting the wind direction off of the Atlantic, and it's helping to increase some showers that are right off the coast right now. You can see that to all the lightning bolts coming through parts of Volusia County, Flagler County as well. The big thunderstorms this evening, as we talked about last night on the show, we're going to be on the West Coast, the Gulf Coast, around I-75 and points west. So that's where they were. Those are winding down tonight, as they typically do at this hour. But now we'll turn our attention to the storms that are kind of fueling and firing up late tonight because of this tropical wave. And we'll be dealing with that to some degree through the overnight and then on your morning commute tomorrow if you are heading out to work early. So there we go. That's how we're going to be dealing with things over the next couple of days. Because of the extra clouds and the earlier start time to the rain and thunderstorms, a relatively cooler day. Relatively. It's obviously still hot. We're not going to get a break until October, but nonetheless, 87 in Jacksonville. We'll take that. 87 in Tallahassee. The blue box represents where we're below normal in the temperature department. Pensacola, we're checking in at 89 tomorrow. A pair of 90s in Naples and Miami. The only spot, at least on the map, Tampa, we're going to be above normal. And that is because the East Coast sea breeze is the dominant one. So our thunderstorm chances will stick around later, or not happen until later, and allow us to heat back up a little bit as we move through the afternoon and into the evening. So here's how it's going to play out. Rendition, high resolution future radar. You can almost see that curl there as the tropical wave comes over. It's not really organized or anything like that. Don't think this is going to develop once it gets into the Northeast Caribbean, or Northeast Gulf anyway. But you see the thunderstorms here. There's Friday morning, lots of heavy rain towards South Florida. We have some heavy rain pushing up the Atlantic coast as well. Notice the interior part of the peninsula is going to be on the drier side. And then we're going to watch more thunderstorms fire up and then work their way through the Gulf side of Florida. There you go, by 7 o'clock on your Friday evening, some thunderstorm toward I-4 and I-75 around the Tampa, Sarasota area. And then also watching Southeast Florida as kind of the rest of this tropical wave slides through out of the Bahamas, Port St. Lucie, Vero Beach, West Palm, Coral Springs, Miami, all under the gun for some thunderstorms coming in from the southeast corner of the Atlantic. And then there's that last kind of run to get you through the rest of Friday. This is some of the rain anyways, falling where we need it. It's still kind of wild that we are in such a pretty extreme drought, You know what I'm talking about, especially if you're south of Lake Okeechobee. And then right along the Atlantic coast, it's been very dry as well. Say from about Kennedy Space Center and south, Tampa, we're still considered abnormally dry, where we see those yellow blotches, if you will. But it has been really, really dry in South Florida. If I have anybody tuning in from the South Florida area, you know what I'm talking about. So we can use any rain, not too much rain at once. We know we flood pretty easily down there. Um, but extreme drought still, just north of Miami, just west of Miami, and severe drought from about West Palm down into the extreme southwest tip of the peninsula. So still a lot of dry soil to try to make up, and we'll hope we can start doing that with that weak tropical wave coming through. Parts of Central Florida, Brevard County is still considered to be in a moderate drought, um, and all that. No, so the drought, it's not an El Nino like pattern at all. Definitely not an El Nino like pattern, for sure. It's more of like 2004. Um, yeah, it's not an El Nino pattern. Um, But anyway, you see that brown color through Brevard County. We are still in that moderate drought from about Grant, Valcaria, Palm Bay, Melbourne, Mico. Still dealing with that is what is as well. All right, just like last night, I'm going to hit the break on the short side because there is a lot to talk about in the tropics. There is a battle brewing between big time forcing to get thunderstorms to roll off of Africa. However, the Atlantic still is not that favorable for development. So it's going to be the battle what wins out. It's how do I put this? It's like a parent forcing a kid to do something that they don't want to do. So there's something that's forcing up these thunderstorms, but then the Atlantic is not supporting them. We're going to see which one wins over the next week to 14 days. We're going to play that out. We're going to take a look at some of the model guidance. We're going to take a look at the environment coming up in just 3 short minutes. We'll catch you then. Alrighty, guys, we are back. Thank you a ton for being here on a Thursday evening as we are getting ready to talk about the state of the tropical Atlantic. Of course, I mentioned at the top of the show that one of the big deals today was NOAA released their update to their 2025 preseason forecast when it comes to tropically speak, when it comes to the amount of hurricanes, major hurricanes, and named storms. And it didn't change much. And by the way, this does include the 4 storms that are out there. So just subtract 4, and then this is for the totality of the season. So they're not expecting 13 to 18 more. They'd be expecting 9 to 14 more, if I can do math in my head. We haven't had a hurricane yet, so we're going to talk about 5 to 9 storms becoming hurricanes, and then major hurricanes 2 to 5. So they shaved one off on the low end there, but largely the same. Again, doubling down on a slightly above average hurricane season. And again, it doesn't matter how it starts. It doesn't matter where we are right now, unfortunately. But we're going to be watching that closely to see if there's going to be another flurry of activity like what we saw at the end of September and into October. It really looks, because of how warm things are in the atmosphere, that we might be getting into this trend where these seasons are going to become more and more backloaded. So that goes in line with Colorado State's outlook that they revamped yesterday. And if you missed yesterday's show, we showed this. Their forecast, their update came yesterday, and largely in line with 16 named storms, hopefully we never see 18 hurricanes. That'd be terrible. 8 of those becoming hurricanes, 3 of those becoming major. And I want to be clear, because people always go nuts with this forecast and they'll be like, oh, it was a bust. They're not saying that 16 storms are going to hit land or you're going to be impacted by 8 storms. There's a lot of coastline, there's a lot of ocean. So this is just the amount of storms that they are expecting, and for the remainder of the season. So there's that. Okay, so here's the deal. Dexter is gone. That is post-tropical. It did not last long, as expected. There's still this little area off the northeast corner, mid-Atlantic part of the United States, in between Bermuda in there. This one likely is not going to develop. The window is shut for that one, pretty much. Hanging on to a 30% shot. But again, the development shot is pretty much over for that one. And then this is the one that got all the buzz on social media, those crazy model runs. There's hardly a thunderstorm within this wave. And this is what I'm talking about. Model guidance last August and model guidance so far has blown these waves up, but they have not in reality, they have not blown up. So, I mean, this is what we kind of are dealing with. And that's why there's the battle between, okay, we do have a lot of thunderstorm activity. You can already see the next juicy wave rolling off of Africa. There's another one behind it. And for that, we'll get into the satellite that goes a little bit further to the east. I also have the dust overlaid on there, so you can see just how kind of not favorable things are right now. It's not just the dust. We also have some sinking air out there. There's a lot of stuff. So here's our wave. This too looked juicy. Remember we were looking at this one the other night? It looked juicy as it rolled off of Africa. And then it just kind of petered out. And I mean, look, it's surrounded by dust. Look, there's one little thunderstorm. There's the swirl of that tropical wave. But man, it is looking sad tonight. And there's another big plume of Saharan dust ejecting, ready to meet these 2 waves. Now, is this big one here, that second one, that bright purple complex of thunderstorms, bright pink and purple? That's what the models are latching on to, that would send a threat to the Northeast Caribbean and potentially the Greater Antilles, potentially the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and potentially the southeast corner of the United States. There's a lot of potentialities because that's like 4,000 miles away, and there's so much in all that stuff. So keep that in mind as we go forward here, that while these waves look juicy, Our tropical wave that got a ton of ridiculous hype and clicks. I mean, it's basically nothing right now. It'll have a shot to develop once it gets up in here, but I don't know. I don't think it's that great, to be honest. Ensembles are losing. They're falling out of love with it. It's all kind of petering out. So there's that. And again, that's the battle. Um no, it's definitely not like 2017 we had long trackers. We're not expecting long track storms this year. So this is not going to be a year like 2017, where we had like these crazy storms strong for a while going into the Northeast Caribbean. If we get an impactful year, which still looks likely, they're going to sneak up on us. I mean, we'll be watching them. They're not going to sneak up on us because we're going to see them on satellite. We're going to know the pattern, but they're going to look like this. They're going to look like benign. There's going to be enough swirl of the wave here, and then once it gets out north of the Greater Antilles, the environment becomes a little more favorable, and that's what we would have to watch. With all of this said, we'll go to the other computer, and I want to show you what I'm talking about, this battle. So you just saw how dry and dusty it is out there, okay? And again, this is our homework assignment for the next week. So when we hop on here tomorrow and when we talk next week, we're going to track these things in real time because I can't tell you with certainty if these things are going to develop. I don't trust any model guidance right now that develops these things until I see one actually survive the hostile Atlantic. And this is going to be the battle. So as I move over to my other weather computer, this is on tropicaltidbits.com. I wouldn't say homegrown either because the waves are going to come from Central America and from Africa. It's just they're not going to be developed until they get close to home. Homegrowns are off a cold front. So here's the deal. All of this green, let me see. I think it's off the screen. Here we go. Let me go to this one. This one gets you a better look. So all of this green over here, that's rising motion over Africa. Okay? That's rising motion over Africa. That green nub extends just over Africa and over the extreme eastern Atlantic. Okay, so this is why we are getting those waves. This is why we are seeing that out here. Okay, so this is why we're getting the prolific waves to roll off of Africa because there is the Madden-Julian oscillation. It's that big convective bubble that goes around the globe every 30 to 60 days and helps to force thunderstorms up. So it doesn't. So what I'll say to that is that you can't. That's a definition. So you can't make up a definition. You know what I mean? Like homegrown means they're developed from home, and the cold fronts come from home. So I don't want to confuse anybody when you're saying they're going to be homegrown storms. No, the storms that we're going to get if we get anything to threaten are going to come from Africa, or they're going to come from the Central American gyre once we get into September, October, like we've seen over the last couple of years. But what I'm saying is they're going to come kind of beaten up and broken and then may not develop until they get northeast of the Caribbean, that 60 west. But make no mistake about it, that's not a homegrown storm. Homegrown storms are like what we got with Chantal and what we got with Dexter. Those are homegrown storms. So to be clear, I want to just make sure that everybody's aware of what a homegrown storm is. No, definitely not. Nope. All right. So anyway, the green is there. That forces up the thunderstorms. Okay. That's the Madden-Julian oscillation. So there is our forcing. So we have something to literally lift up all the air to get the thunderstorms. But is the Atlantic going to hold on? Now, all models, AI, Euro, GFS, have been bullish on everything that come up. For sure. And they just haven't been able to be supported. So Kelly's exactly right, and that's because of that Madden-Julian oscillation. She says the African storms seem like they are more active, and that would be why. They're just getting gobbled up. They're just getting gobbled up by that dry, dusty, stable air. The main development region is not that conducive. Okay, so latest European ensembles, again, different initial conditions put into these guys. I'm not sure. So that one, for I believe Helene was a wave that got into the Gulf and moved up. So that one was an African easterly wave. I believe. I don't know. I'll double check that in the break. I think Helene came over and formed in the Western Caribbean and then lifted up. So I'll double check that. You may be right, but I'll double check that in the break. But anyway, a lot of ensemble support, but 96L, Invest 96L, that was that naked swirl out there. That one kind of fizzled out too, and now it hardly has any ensemble support. There were a few of them up here, but that's it. So it's a very, I hate a wait and see approach. I hate that. I like making the call on things as early as I can, with things, but until I see a storm actually survive out there for a while, it's going to be hard for me to believe it. All right. We're going to have about 3 minutes to take some questions, and there's some good comments in here. I'm going to look up that Helene track in just 1 second. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Thank you guys a ton for being here. Great questions, great comments, as always. Appreciate you guys. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Have about 2 minutes, and then I have to run for the 10 o'clock news. Helene was the gyre storm, so I stand corrected. I was thinking of Milton, and you also mentioned Milton was kind of the combination of Tropical Depression 11, as you mentioned, from the Eastern Pacific, but also that naked wave that came off of Africa and came back over. And there you go. So Milton was the African easterly wave. It came all the way from Africa, the tropical wave. There was the moisture from TD11 that crossed over, and then it came followed east through the Gulf. All that stuff. Why do meteorologists never say? Are you say? I know. That's what we always say. Um, That's what that's what we always say. It's always good to be prepared because I have my batteries, I have all my stuff and things like that. So I'm ready to go. Um I hope you are too because it's terrible, terrible, terrible. Just waiting in line and dealing with the mad rush to go get stuff. So it's wild. It's wild. So yeah, always, always for sure. Alrighty, guys, there were a ton of great questions tonight. And I hope you join me tomorrow on a Friday night at 9:30. I have to run. I am up against it. So I'm sorry if I missed your comment on there. And there were a bunch that I know I missed. So I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to try to build more time in for the question and answer segment tonight. Going forward. It's so dry, by the way, in the southeast because we've had that strong Bermuda high forcing things in. And so the west coast, the east coast sea breeze has been dominant for South Florida, and it has pushed all the thunderstorms to the west southwest coast. That's also the reason why I'm concerned. And somebody mentioned about the steering currents. When that happens, that helps to force things further west instead of allowing things to escape out to sea. So all of that stuff there. Is what we are watching. All right, I'm over my time like crazy. I want to thank you guys a ton for being here. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for all the comments, the questions, and just hanging out, BSing about the weather tonight. A lot to watch over the next couple of weeks. What wins? The forcing or the not so great environment? We're gonna find out. Post in the comments what you think. I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 9:30 and in a few minutes on News 6 at 10.